Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Fearless and Free TV. I was about to say good morning, but it's actually afternoon. We had our time change, our spring forward a couple of days ago. I'm still getting used to it. So today I have on my new friend, Tibisay Felida. I met her a couple of weeks ago through another group. Actually, we're both Hempworx distributors and taking advantage of this amazing world that we live in where free CBD is easily accessible. And so that's how we met. We were mutual support that way. And I was on her show last week, and I invited her to be on my show this week because off screen, we started having some really great conversations about relationships. So, and then before we went on camera, a few minutes ago, we kind of got into relationships and spring cleaning. So just decided we're going to go ahead and continue on with that conversation because I personally have found they go hand in hand. Now, what I was telling her was that years ago, I started this practice of what I call cleaning my proverbial house. And I would do that every spring. I just felt this urge to clean. And people would give me a hard time about only cleaning my house once a year. Like how could you only clean your house once a year? That's not what that is. This is about cleaning your proverbial house. So when you're cleaning your proverbial house, you're basically removing everything from your life that is clutter. And that includes money clutter. So this morning I was going through a stack of gift cards that I was given that I found out for whatever reason, they were never honored by the company that they were assigned to. So I just threw away about $300 in gift cards because they didn't work. But I've been holding on to them for a couple of years. I think wishful thinking that somehow they would magically work. So it's that kind of thing. That's actually money clutter. And what clutter does in our lives is it actually blocks our own energetic flow. So the more we can go through our house and through our life and let go of anything that is clutter, the more free flowing our lives can be. So for me, part of that letting go of the clutter has also involved letting go of people in my life who are kind of like dragging them around with me, where I would be clinging to the relationships even though the other person was not reciprocating. What I discovered about myself a few years ago is that I have a tendency for codependency. So that has been my big drive for about the last 6 months, is to look at where I'm having codependent relationships and either let those relationships go or turn them into interdependent relationships. So the difference is that a codependent relationship is that they're both based in needing each other. And an interdependent relationship is just this beautiful interdependence where those are the relationships that are the healthiest because we're perfectly comfortable and whole in our own wholeness and don't really need the relationship. And where codependency is involved in a need where we need the other person to fulfill some aspect of ourselves because we're not feeling completely whole without that person. So that's been a big thing in my life for about the last 6 months. I haven't really publicly come out too often and let the world know that I'm in the middle of a divorce. My husband and I were together for almost, actually over 30 years. And I just realized that relationship, what Spirit told me is that our contract was complete. And I discovered that I had a codependent relationship with him and had been clinging to our relationship for about 5 years longer than I needed to. And that was actually preventing me from growing into who I'm really here to be, because I was holding myself back, trying to maintain a relationship that I knew was not best for me. And I think it's also turns out that it's good for him because I think he might actually be seeing somebody. That's what I think. So, and I'm really happy for him. And it's also what it really did is it really forced me to take a look at my relationship with my kids as well. And I discovered that I had a codependent relationship with my kids. And I think I've mentioned before to some people, and I'm just being completely transparent here, that I had my kids actually went to live with their dad for a couple of months because I discovered I had a codependent relationship with them. And that I was expecting my kids to fulfill some part of my life where I wasn't feeling complete in myself. And I really needed that time to to find my wholeness inside of myself. And so now I have a completely different relationship with my kids, and I have a completely different relationship with my ex-husband, which is based so much more on interdependence and so much less needy than it ever has been. So yeah, I'm putting that out there because I know that there are a lot of people who are dealing with that right now, especially this world that we're creating, this new world we're creating. There are a lot of people who we no longer have a resonance with, and that we need to either decide if we're going to let them go, or if there's some aspect in ourselves that's asking for attention. Of course, there's always an aspect in ourselves that's asking for attention 100% of the time, because every relationship we have with other people is a reflection of the relationship that we have with ourselves. And so anytime we feel any kind of angst in a relationship with another person, there's something inside of us that's asking for our attention that needs to be remedied inside of ourselves. So in my particular case, the last 6 months has been taking a deep dive into my intimate relationships, which are the scariest relationships to dive into. And yet, in order for me to have a more intimate relationship with myself, I need to be willing to have those breakthroughs in my intimate relationships with other people. So it's been a tremendous growth experience. And so here we are in this, March, it's spring equinox, which I had completely forgotten about until Tibisay pointed it out off camera. That here we are, that we're being given the opportunity in spring to clean up the relationships that aren't working for us, to clean up any clutter in our house, to clean up any kind of money clutter so that prosperity flows more easily, to clean up any the things on the to-do list that we always say we're going to do but never get around to. That is clutter too. That's actually energetic clutter. So this beautiful part of spring cleaning is cleaning up all of the clutter in our lives and deciding how we can either let those things go, finish them and complete them so they're no longer energetic clutter, relationships that need to be reworked and reestablished as something entirely new so that it serves all concerned based in harmony rather than need. And, money clutter, like the gift cards that I found that I finally just have let go. And there's some other things around my house that I need to let go of that need to be fixed, let go, cleared, whatever needs to be done. But what that does is that clears up our personal field to allow the universe to give more to us. So that's a conversation we were having off camera. And then what I haven't said to you to say after our meeting last week is I tried your visualization that you suggested. And my relationship with my daughter is completely different than it was 2 weeks ago.
I knew it couldn't be any way. It couldn't be any way different. It's just that it's not about going after someone, or it's just in deep inside. Start from deep inside and imagining everything to be perfect, imagining and giving love, and then by law it couldn't work out any different way. Because in your case, you're telling that you had to let go, of your family. Some way, somehow, that was not my lesson, or maybe it's my lesson, but not yet. Or if I got the impression that I was meant to learn to love people regardless. I learned to love people who are different than me, and regardless of how they were or how they behaved. I think that was my mission in this incarnation. If I look at my relationships, and from the day I remember, I remember that I existed, I think maybe about when I was 3-4 years old. And if I look now that I'm 50 something, that's what I've been doing relationship wise all the time. And all the happenings in my life were facilitating me to learn how to love people, to adore and love people regardless of how they behaved. And love my husband when he's being not nice, love my daughter when she's not being respectful, and not it was a challenge at the beginning. And I remember, like I told you, like last week, the first thing I had to do before I could learn this, the first step was just every time I was about to say something or act a certain way, I had to visualize how I would feel about what I'm about to do or what I'm about to say if I knew that that person was about to die in 24 hours. Just
Wow.
I had to do that just to get used to, like, whoa. And, because you're like, then how would I feel about what I'm going to do now if I knew that this person is going to die in 24 hours? And then when you only have to do that, then automatically you're like, is this a good idea? Am I acting the best way? And that would like flag me, because it's like, because you're feeling like, when you're feeling being disrespected, or you're feeling annoyed, or you're feeling that this person says something that's hurtful or offensive or whatever, or you feel attacked, it's so automatic pilot to attack back.
Right.
And especially if you're good with language, like me.
Well, how many languages do you speak? I'm curious.
No, I speak Dutch, English, Spanish, and Papiamento. Papiamento is the language of Curaçao, the island where I live.
Right. Which is a fascinating language because it's Spanish, Dutch, English, a little bit of French, and African, right?
Yes. It's like the sentence structure is like African. I think it has a lot of Portuguese because there are a lot of Portuguese people living here, and yes, Spanish because we're close to Latin America. French, probably, some of the islands around us, and Dutch because we are part of the Dutch kingdom. So a lot of words come from Holland as well. So it has a lot of
fascinating language. Well, I told you before I travel, I'd like to study about the countries before I go to. Mm-hmm. So before I went to Curaçao, I did some research about your language, and what they were saying in the research was that it was a language that the slaves created to be able to communicate with their masters. And because the Caribbean islands went through so many different ownership, it was a French country, and then it was an English country, and it was a Spanish country, and ended up being Dutch. But in order to communicate with all of the different countries that owned, in particular, we call them the ABC islands.
Yes.
Curaçao and Bonaire, that those three islands created this papiamento as a way of communicating with all the different masters that they had over the years. So it's a fascinating language. I find it fascinating in writing, like the billboards.
Yes. And I would write it properly, but because I'm like from the generation, I'm like the old generation that never got it at school. Because actually, when we were young, you were not allowed to speak Papiamento at school. You would get punished. It's like the French, I think, in certain parts of in Australia, not in Canada or what have you. But I mean, like, I wasn't like my father would be smacked if he would talk Papiamento in classroom. I was like a younger generation, so we didn't get smacked, but we would get punished, or the teacher would ignore you. So if you say something Papiamento and teachers, what do you say? I didn't understand. And you say it 5 times, I didn't understand. Then so we were very. So I'm like from the generation that we had to speak Dutch at school. And like my sister got like 1 year of Dutch, Papiamento, and the youngest one got like more teachings of Papiamento. So, and after that, after going to school, I went to university in Holland, moved to Spain. So I never was in a situation in which I could, that it was interesting to learn to like read and speak it, professionally. Mm-hmm. So I fluently, but I can't read or write, but I can read it, but I cannot write it without any mistakes or what have you. But yes, it's interesting. It makes us unique. I think it makes us unique in the world. compared to the place.
Well, and the reason I wanted to bring that up too is that that has allowed you to communicate with people that that the rest. I mean, for example, well, a lot of Americans, we are what is the word? Not bilingual. We're unilingual. Like we only have one language, and the ability to communicate with people the way that you do, and you're tutoring in different languages as well, is that you really learn how to communicate, and you really learn how to develop relationships with different kinds of people beyond what a lot of us have access to or even know how to. And
besides that, we're a touristic island, so we deal with tourists. So it's very important for us, like as a basic skill, to be able to love and understand and be accepting of all kinds of people, depending on religion, depending on feelings, race, creeds. I mean, it's because it's automatically, it's like instilled in you without you even being aware of it. And I became like more aware when I have had contact with people who were not raised in like places that depended on tourism, that had to and that didn't travel like we traveled. Then I became like more aware of how I function, and that the way that I function is not as normal as I thought it to be. You know?
Yeah. That's really beautiful that you have had to learn how to love people regardless of who they are. And that's such a lesson that I think humanity as a whole needs to learn. And the other thing that you were saying is about, okay, so there were a couple of things that you said last week off camera that I just loved. One was when your husband's being not such a nice guy, how it is that you choose to respond to him, and when your daughter's being not so nice, how you choose to respond to her, that just makes them stop. And then you're also talking about visualizing. So let's talk about what it is that you do with your husband, because you two disagree on things.
Yes. I mean, it's we have completely different personalities, and he does things that I really deeply annoys me, you know. And it wasn't. I mean, and now I think that the big change came when once I did like this post-life regression, and I found out that he was my oldest brother in another incarnation. Where we were like, I think we were like in Romania. I don't know. I think we were like in Eastern Europe. We weren't royalty, but we were like upper class, like business people or something like that. And I remember during this regression that our mom died, and I was sitting there crying my eyes out, and he would come to me, and I only recognized him because of his eyes, because he looked differently, I looked differently. And I remember he said to me, "Don't worry, she's gone, but I'm still here. I'm still here, and I'm always going to be here." And I remember that after that that experience, that past life regression, I started to see him with completely different eyes, and all the things that he was doing that I found like annoying, that is like father figure like. I started to understand them, and when that happened, I changed my attitude towards it completely. So every time he would like correct me or say something, or I would be like, "Oh, adudu baba, that's my little papa," you know, and I was like a joke out of it. And I remember, like, because he was used to me getting, you know, annoyed, and even if I wouldn't say something because of my body language, you would notice that I'm annoyed, that I'm like, even, you know. So I think that after that, I started to change, and every time he would say something, and then when the first time I reacted like that, he was like, so I caught him off guard. So I mean, if somebody comes to you, if you're being like with someone, and a little bit bitey. And if somebody would be like, "Oh, thank you so much, I love you so much," first time you think, are you being sarcastic? Are you, then,
Mhm.
but it gets all the time. It gets like harder and harder to come up. And like this morning, and we went for a walk, and he was being like very difficult. Like, no, it was like we were just walking, and I was just saying things that I thought weren't that bad, and he would be like, yes, and you're a horrible human being, and you're terrible. And I looked at him and I said, oh, I feel so sorry for you that you have to live with somebody so terrible as me. I hope something happens that would that made it possible for you to escape from somebody as awful as me. I said that to him, so like that, and I jokingly. And 3 minutes later, he's like, I don't mean it, right? I don't mean what I said. You know what happened? I said it because I feel horrible, because I just had this email about this and this and this, So, so I've learned like to don't, like I said, take no offense.
Take no offense. Yeah, I love it. That you shared that with me last week. Yeah.
Yes, someone can give you the offense, but just like I can give you the pen and you can choose not to take it, somebody can give you offense and you still have the choice not to take it.
Right.
And so I was like, so I just reacted like that. This just this morning, but all the time, like every time he does something that I don't like, I would like react with love. And I've noticed that, and if you channel love, this patience will not finish. It will not, because if not, if you try to do it on your own, it's going to dry you out. But the source doesn't. The access to source is like your cup can run over, and I would, like I said, if I received and I would like just love him or love, and it's impossible, regardless of how you feel about me, if I decide, Victoria, to absolutely adore you so much, what you do, it's going to be transmuted.
Right.
It cannot stand. By law, it cannot stand. Just as simply as that. So that's and by doing that, and I'm like, okay, so that's just like I think, like I said, that's my learning. That's my learning, or my job, this incarnation, just to learn to do this and see this as a challenge, as a fabulous challenge, in which, like, just like when I was teaching at the high school, I would have like kids being, I had like kids in their puberty being like disrespectful, being this, like even the jobs that I got, all things, all the time forcing me to evolve the skills that I need to learn to absolutely love everyone.
So I put I didn't type it right, but this is the quote that really just got my, see, now I'm trying to fix it. You can tell I'm doing a live show. I'm so getting used to using StreamYard. But I love this so much that it literally, last week when you said that to me, I was like, oh my gosh, it changed everything. Because how many times, and the natural default for a lot of people, because we're in defense mode, human beings, it's that survival mechanism of always being in defense, which we know comes from fear rather than love. And it's the ego wanting to protect ourselves. So we tend to, unless we're really conscious of staying in love, is to take other people's offense, taking ownership of other people's offense, which puts us in defense. And And then at what point, now this is what's hitting me right now. At what point does that become offense? Because what I find fascinating is that nobody wants to be responsible for being the person who is offensive.
No.
Right?
But
even in sports, they're on the offense. Like that word doesn't ever get used properly because it's kind of like, ooh, I don't want to be the offense. I don't want to be remembered as being offensive. But it's a matter of perception. So other people can be offensive toward us, but we don't have to take it. And we don't have to go into defense either. We can just sit in love and respond with love rather than react with defensiveness.
And when you do that, you're disarming the other party.
Yeah.
Completely disarming them. Like I said, if you tell me, oh, you're such a horrible, horrible human being, and I tell you, oh, that's so bad, for you to be, stuck with somebody like that. I hope, something happened that will liberate you, And I'm not being sarcastic. I really mean it. I really mean it, because I can't believe that for him, I could be maybe, or for somebody else, I could be a horrible person because of the triggers. So if I really say, okay, I really, really hope, then suddenly he has to wake up and it's like, oh shit, is this true?
Right.
Is this true? And then he would say like, no. Then he needs, like, if I would like feel offended, then he will keep banging. If I say something like that, then I make him like, and then it's like, I didn't mean that, right? Like 3 minutes later, because we were walking because we have like this, we walk around the stadium that's like 3 like less than 2 miles from our house. So and we go for a walk, and we do that every morning, or we try to do it every morning to exercise a little bit. And and we were walking, and I just kept walking. And like I said, less than 3 minutes after that, he said, I didn't mean that, right? I'm like, oh no, I didn't know that, tell me more,
Yeah. So it's almost like you're lovingly deflecting it back to them. And letting them see that it's actually their issue without actually pointing it out. You're showing it in a way that is, lovingly showing them that it's actually their issue and not yours.
Yes, but if I say that,
you're doing it in such a loving way that they don't even recognize it. It's just it causes that shift inside the other person. That is just so amazing to me that you've learned to lovingly deflect it back to them because then he had to think about it, right? And then he recognized that the reason he was being mean to you actually didn't have anything to do with you. It was because he was taking offense that somebody else had given to him, and he was attempting to pass it on to you, and you didn't take it.
Yes.
You're like, no, I'm not going to take that ball and run with it. I'm just going to give the ball back to you and let you navigate what you're going to do with it.
And it's like it became like a skill that I didn't even study for or what have you. Because what thing is, if I told him you're just reflecting, it would be like, oh, so you're a psychologist now,
Right.
So if I would say to him, yes, you're reflecting your frustrations upon me, or if I would say something like that, he would be, oh, so we are psychologists now, aren't we? That's how he would react, right?
Right. So then it would make the issue even worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've learned like to just because like not resisting, not and then let it flow, and
not try to explain it away either, like you said, but because sometimes we as women tend to go into explaining things, and you didn't do that. You don't go into, well, this is what you're doing, and this is why you're acting this way, and not try to analyze it. Just put the ball back in his court in the way that you did, so lovingly that he really had no choice but to sit and think about it actually being his issue, even though you didn't tell him it was his issue, for example.
Because if you blame somebody, you put the person in defense mode.
Right. So you could have gone into explaining it, and that would have just put him in defense, and then it would have made the situation even worse.
Yes.
So by just sitting and being from this absolute position of love, you deflected the entire situation.
Yes. Because
melted the entire situation.
Yes,
Yeah.
I could say exactly the same thing in a sarcastic intention, with sarcastic intention, and make it even worse.
Right.
I could say exactly the same thing, but being sarcastic, and it would not have that effect.
But you said it in a way that was so loving.
I really meant it.
Yeah, and you really meant it, that it actually just melted the entire situation. And then he recognized why he was being so offensive to you.
Yeah, because then he said to me, you know what? I got this email about this and this and this, and and they told me this is. See, then.
So, and it wasn't about you at all.
Yes, because if I don't fight, it's like in judo. If you don't fight, but you go with the person, it's impossible for the person to damage you. If you try to punch me and I do this, you cannot inflict pain on me. If you punch me and then you can hurt me. See, and that's how I've learned to navigate. Like I said, I don't have any training for this. I didn't,
Right.
just like I said, like after I had this post-traumatic aggression, when I understood what his job was.
Yeah.
Why I married him. Then it started to happen automatically. It started to happen automatically because I understand that we were meant to meet each other. We were meant to be married. We were meant to go through all of this, and if I would have chosen, I think in my case, it's not anybody's case, but in my case, I think that if I've chosen to, like, if he annoys me, divorce him or what have you, what would have happened to me is the next generation, he would have been my husband again. See what I mean?
Right. Because you wouldn't have finished out that contract, that agreement.
Yes.
And he had said in the last life that he was going to be there with you to take care of you no matter what, kind of thing. So it was a commitment that he made in your last life together for him to be here in this life, to look out for you and be there for you. Yeah.
Yes. And and I remember, like, once he was saying something to me and I was and somebody told me, I heard a voice, you wanted this, and I heard it, like sometimes you get like downloads, but it's like an idea, no? But this time I actually heard it so clearly that I actually did like this to see if there was somebody over there, because I just heard it, like it just heard somebody told me, but this is what you wanted. And then with so and now I know, like, these are agreements that we did, and we have to he will have to put up with my crap, I have to put up with his, and we will have to learn to love each other and love each other in our differences until we transmute this.
Right. So you have what? Ignore the voice, the voice that you keep hearing.
It's not the magical voice.
No, and it's happened. Actually, I have to figure out how to fix this. So my kids have started spending time with me again. But in the meantime, I had a new alarm system put in my house so that I can tell if anybody's going in and out of my house, because I'm here by myself most of the time. Yeah. And I need to figure out how to disable her, this very bossy lady who tells me when somebody's going in and out of my house. And that was my son going into the garage. Yeah. So, and I asked my kids not to go in and out of the garage, but obviously you're the kids.
They're not going to listen.
What they do. So anyway, the voice that you're hearing actually is a real voice. I don't have voices in my head.
Yeah.
What I was trying to say is that we have what you and I both know are soul contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So we have contracts that we've made between other beings to meet them at different points in our life, to have marriage contracts with them, some of them to have children with them. So a lot of times they're referred to as soulmates. So soulmates are basically beings that we've made soul contracts with. And so in your case, this is the person you made a soul contract with, and that you got to finish this out, because this is the contract that you made on a soul, actually what I call a cellular level.
Mm-hmm.
We have cellular memories and things, and so I like to use that term because it's kind of like cellular is the physical, but cellular is the soul aspect of. So as I was in the show, what I was told with my husband is that our contract was complete, and that was really difficult for me to accept, because I very much. It's just that our contract was complete. In your case, that your contract needs to continue, because it's an agreement to do that. So, so that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize that, and that if you were to sever the contract before it was complete, that you have to do it again in the next lifetime.
Yes, and some way, somehow, like it's easier, because I think it's easier to oh no, let me rephrase it. I came here to learn this. I mean, it's easier to be like tranquil and happy in a cave in the Himalayas.
Mm-hmm.
It's dealing with people who are different than you, dealing with mom, dealing with husband, dealing with daughter. Those are the real skills. Not meditating in the Himalaya. That's easy.
Right.
These are this is real business. These are the real skills. So these are the real gnosis and skills that will make you I think make you grow, not like hiding from all kinds of discomfort. Like hiding from discomfort has its place when you're healing, when you're wounded. There are moments that you need to like time out. Yes, it's you. So it has its place, but I think it's like more for healing and relaxing. But you don't evolve. I think the skills are this.
Right.
This time place reality. This matrix with students that show up late, kids that are being disrespectful, husband that says something that you don't like, and not making these things. Learning to like I said, take no offense. Give control back to, like it's written here, like give control to God, give control to God, download light, download love, download till your cup runs over, and then give and give and give and download and give, and don't lose, because like every time you lose your patience, the reason why you're losing your patience or something like that, it's because you're trying to give from what you have, and what you have is limited. So your patience is limited. But if you like download, and then what you download you give, then it's infinite. Then you can do this infinitely. You can infinitely just love, adore, absolutely adore people around you, regardless of their behavior, regardless of how different they are from you.
Yeah, that is beautiful. So you understand that you are really a vessel for that love to move through you.
Yes, and that's the and regardless of what people think, that's like the big league. That's the, being a wife, being a mom, dealing with people who are not in the same space as you, who feel
Right.
different about you, and love them so much.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I know in this world that we're living in right now that feels so divisive that it's
Yes.
really difficult for people. It's like, well, you're a different political party. I like here in the U.S. It's like we are so divided into genders and races and political parties, and the ability to love someone absolutely, even if they're looking at you and calling you names, and they believe so completely different, to love them still, to love them no matter what, to love them. And what I feel like is to love other human beings the way that God loves us, the way that Source loves us, whatever name is that any of us, whatever name we use for the I am presence of all that is, that love is absolute and unconditional. And to be able to love other human beings that way is, to me, that's what you are doing, as a perfect example of what that looks like. And every person is capable of that, and it's such an extraordinary way to go through life. Rather than the againstness, which according to Microsoft isn't an actual word, but I love that word. And going through life in againstness of anyone else actually harms us.
Yes, but like it's dense, because like I know, or I do understand that people will feel differently about certain things, could be annoyed towards me and so on. So I try like not to be in people's face with certain things that would trigger them when it's not necessary. So because I can believe in something truly, and I can be myself. But if I'm myself and I believe in myself, why do I feel like the need to broadcast it so much?
And it goes back to this again.
Yes. Yes.
So,
and
and I love that. You don't have to own other people's attitudes toward you or theirs. It doesn't have it's not a reflection of who you are.
Yes. So what I do is basically like I try not to be myself, not talk too much about religion or politics. I mean, if somebody asks me directly, yes, but I try not to like broadcast it too much, not to avoid, not because I want to hide it or because I'm afraid or anything like, or embarrassed, but just as a courtesy to others, to avoid their annoyance and what have you. But of course, I am who I am, and I believe what I believe, and I will not apologize for it, and I will not I will not change for anyone, because what I believe is right is what in my heart I truly believe is right, and what I believe is wrong is what I believe is wrong, and that's me. So I don't change. I don't let other people change me, but I try not to broadcast neither to avoid people, getting fired up. And I try to balance it like that. And if for some reason people find out something about me that makes them like, to spark, that makes them think, positive or negative, I just let it be. And it's a skill that takes a while to evolve, because it's, like I said at the beginning, I actually had to visualize people dying within 24 hours of me saying what I was about to say, because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to have the self-control.
Right.
If somebody would it only, so at the beginning, so in the first steps, I was only able to have this attitude by imagining, like, okay, Tibisay, if you did what you're going to do now, or say what you're going to say now, and you knew now that the person is about to die in 24 hours, would you still do it? Would you
Right.
still say it?
Right.
And that's the way I had to control myself in the beginning, until I had the skill not to have to think about this all the time, to be able to react. And then, like I said, it's like learning piano or violin.
Right.
For a while, it's like when somebody sends the punch, you go with the punch, and you go with the punch, and then you do like this and this, and when you do this, the person is like, oh, you know, see, if you do this and then you do this softly, the person will realize what they're doing or not, but
Right. You know, and you know, from that is that what that looked like is, instead of going from this resistance, right, and you're going just softly like this, it almost, what I was sensing is it takes it from being a conflict and it turns it into a dance.
Yes.
Which is fascinating.
If you see all these things, like if every time your husband says something that annoys you, or your daughter is being disrespectful, or if you see this, like
or you have a parent of a child that's late because you're two young kids. So is it sometimes the parents are difficult to work with?
Yes, but but then again, it's the same thing. It's like on the one side you have like the business practices, because I'm not going to want to put me out of business because of certain things, like not showing up or what have you, without calling, what have you. So I have like the business practices, and I have the love. And then for me, it's like the like if I have problems with parents and what have you, I try to dance between love and the
in business
survival. Yes, survival, my own survival. And it has happened like a couple of times that I really like become like berserk, or like that I but I think that when that happened, it's probably because that person needed to get a lesson, and I needed to act in a certain way. Like I remember, like because of my vibration, those kind of things doesn't happen too often. But I remember once I had someone who came, took lessons, and didn't pay me, and came again and didn't pay me. But because she's always with the kids, and I felt uncomfortable like doing things in front of the kids, or saying things in front of the kids, they managed to take 2 classes for free, leaving and without paying. I remember that time I felt so, then I took offense. I remember that was maybe like 4 years ago. The last time I remember, like I really felt so betrayed, and you know, I'm like, who do you think I am? You know, because you know what I think that the reason why it hurted me so badly is because I love my work. And if you didn't try to steal from me, if you told me I cannot afford it, I would have figured something out with you. Because it has happened. I've taught students that the mom couldn't afford it, but the mom was a hairdresser or did nails or what have you. And I said, okay, well, if you cannot afford it, then we can do like an exchange, or they would, or I would, they would make like a video advertising the services, and I would give them like 3 hours for free. If you just told me honestly that you couldn't afford it, I wouldn't have gone. Because you like lied to me, and because this person, yes, and my husband has this business, and we're going to take. And she did this in such a arrogant and mean way that made me like so berserk that I managed to go to the police and look this person up for 100 guilders, like for $50. I went to the, I mean, it would have cost me, it didn't cost me more money to go for after this than to leave it alone. But just because I was like, so angry, I actually went to the police. I was using meditations and techniques to compel the police, because it's difficult to get the police to follow somebody for that amount of money.
Mm.
So I was like, working on the police's mind, I was like crazy, and I managed to get the police to get into the car, look this woman up over the whole island, not really with psychological games,
right?
Psychologically and so on, and get my money back. And the funny thing is that the money, I gave it to like a friend of mine that for charity, because it was at the end of the school year, and a lot of kids cannot afford their graduation to pay like their fee for the graduation meal and for the 6th grade. And my one of my best friends teaches there. And when I got the money, I gave it to her, because it was not about the money. It was about that some part of me had this wound about being taken advantage of.
Right.
And arrogance in the way that she did it, so that wounded me in such a way that I just went for it. And like I said, and when I got the money, that money was so dirty and that I could not even put it in my wallet.
Wow.
Take the money, put it in a piece of paper and the outer side of my bag, take it home, and call my friend to transmute this money for me, to take it and to help somebody in need, to clean that money up. Because of everything I did for those $50. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous what I did. So, but it was like, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to call the police, the cops upon you, and the police is going to come arrest you for $50. I'm going, so like I said, and a part of me felt so like ashamed, but that I had to take that money and give it to transmute it, because it wasn't about the money. It was about, I didn't want somebody to take advantage of me.
Right.
Offend, or I took offense, but I said that the last time I was like that, was like 4 years ago, like a monster, was like 4 years ago when that happened. And like I said, it's with the arrogance in which she had done it, because like I said, if she had told me honestly that she couldn't afford the tutoring, I would have figured something out.
Yeah, just some other kind of energetic exchange. Yeah.
So that was like this last time I remember that I was like that.
But maybe that was a lesson. There was a lesson in there, because nothing is ever just one thing. So maybe that was a lesson in there that she needed to learn as well. And you ended up being the teacher of whatever that lesson is that she needed to learn.
Yes, because she
not taking advantage of other people.
Yes, because she attracted this. Because in my normal state of mind, wouldn't have gone through the police station of Yokatochi. There they told me that the person's address falls over in Punda. I had to go back after waiting 2 hours there at the police station. I had to go to Punda. There I had to do the report again. I had to, if you see what I've done, I think she attracted that, because it's not logical for me to go through all that hassle for $50.
Right. Well, and the funny thing is that that's such a small island.
Yes.
That word gets out. So why would someone choose to be that way, knowing that on that small of an island, word gets out?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't say her name or put her picture on Facebook or did any of those kind of things, because that's like a little bit too much.
Oh, yeah, that's really low. Yeah.
But like my spiritual level wouldn't allow me to do that. But damn, I was angry. I was, and like so privately, I went through like too much effort. So I think that, yes, I think she probably needed to get this lesson.
Yeah, and you just happened to be the teacher of the lesson that particular
Yes,
time.
yes.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense.
So I wanted to talk about relationships too, in that, so one of the things that I do with people when they try sending me their grief, because we talked about that too, of what don't take other people's stuff personally, or eating other people's grief. So we don't have to take other people's grief, and we don't have to take other people's offense. So what I do is I send them waves of love. I just do. And so I go back to like what Jesus was talking about in the Bible, where he was saying to love your enemies. That has always been a really difficult thing for people to grasp, what he could have possibly meant by that. And I think you are a perfect example of what that means.
Yes.
To love people no matter what.
To
always see people through kindness, and to be the vessel for moving love forward. That's what that means.
Yes, and don't think that I'm perfect or that I don't like explode once in a while. But it's just that I have that as a goal setting. So that's like my job. I just consider it's part of my job. My job is just like I tutor, and I have students that I tutor, and I do this and I do that. Part of it's just God put certain people in my life in a close-knit relationship. I'm not talking about the neighbor that lives 100 meters. He just 4, 5, 6 people in my life, like my husband, like my parents, like my 2 brothers and my sister, my daughter, and this inner circle. And and they're very different from me. They believe different things from me, and that's my job. Just loving them. Loving them. When people are when you're in a situation where people is like physically very aggressive, or in a situation where it's very, very difficult to be like close to a person, that way, then you will have to take a distance. But even in those cases, I think it is possible, although people have free will. People who act in a certain way are always hurting.
Right.
So it seems like free will, but it's not totally free will. They react or they behave in a way because hurt people.
Right. Absolutely.
So even in those cases, I would just, if being close is dangerous for your life, so then in those cases, it's always possible to, you will have to take a distance, but still imagining this person, loving them, until like that system that from I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean that type of just if you keep doing that, doing it, you will break down and transmute. I think certain things.
Absolutely.
Or not, but even if you don't, you're going to do something.
So if it doesn't not change them, if it doesn't break down the situation with them, it does something inside of us.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so we have to see it as our job, or we don't have to do it for the other people. We should just do it as our job of ourselves.
Right.
Just pure selfish for yourself, just for yourself. If you learn to do this skill, if you master this skill, it's amazing. A lot of grief you're saving yourself from. A lot of annoyance, a lot of Because like when somebody says something that's that you don't enjoy, or do something, who's the real victim? You, because you're the person is doing his business and he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Right,
the one
just doing his thing or her thing, yeah. But it's how we choose to receive it.
Exactly.
Right.
Are you going to take it?
Yeah.
And people think that taking means, oh, you're toxic, I'm leaving. No, it can be just, I can remove myself.
Right.
That's the option. But I could just stay and love you. Regardless, because you cannot stop me from loving you. You can behave the way you want, but you cannot stop me, regardless of what you do. You cannot stop me from loving you.
Right.
You just can't do that. You don't have that ability. You can't do that. And that is my strength.
That's really beautiful.
And that's my strength. And if I do that enough, because love is stronger than hate, I'm probably going to win the battle. I'm probably going to be the one. I'm going to transmute every negative thing. I'm going to just make it melt and disappear.
Yeah.
But like it's hard at the beginning. It's like you really have to imagine something horrible happened to the person. Yeah. So because if not, you won't be able to do it. And then after a while, it's like I said, it's like a skill, like learning piano or learning a language. You and when you evolve, it's going to be like an automatic thing.
Right. And that makes perfect sense.
Yes, just like you give me the guitar and I can start playing it. The third moment you start throwing grief upon me or start being, I can, and just,
yeah. And then you just transmute it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Well, I can't believe we've been talking for a whole hour already.
Oh, yes.
Isn't that crazy? So before we close out, I just wanted to say to you, I did the visualization with my daughter. And she, yesterday, it's like old times. She's sitting next to me, showing me her YouTube videos. And because I said, and I did that visualization of what do I visualize us being like? And it's not about visualizing how you want the other person to be, because we can never change another person. It's about what do we want the relationship to look like? What do we want the relationship to be like? And focus on the relationship, not on who we think the other person needs to be. Because we can never change another person. Well, and technically, we're not even changing ourselves. We're just coming back into the loving being that we always were before life got in the way. But yeah, so I love the whole visioning process. We can use visioning for every aspect of our lives. And so I just used the vision that you told me you did with your daughter to assist me with visioning what I wanted with my daughter. And it's beautiful what's happened. Yeah.
And what I can say is that if you infuse her with love, you don't have to worry about her behavior, because something that happens, we moms, we think, okay, we have certain experience that our child doesn't have. Okay, so we worry about mistakes that she could make, things she could be taken advantage of by this guy. She could start using drugs. She could meet this person. She could be in a cult. We worry about all kinds of things that we think could happen to her. And we try to warn with our mouth, saying this, and this, because we've more experience. But I think that when we infuse someone with love, they will love themselves. And when they love themselves, they will not feel attraction to certain things. So what happens is that you could protect her for certain things, not by blah, 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 but just by loving. Because when you love somebody, and I'm talking about like pure love, not control, like pure love, automatically, because people think that spoiling and loving people are the same thing.
Right.
And I think that that's the misunderstanding. I'm not talking about spoiling someone. Loving someone and spoiling is different. Okay. If you spoil somebody, you're just destroying them. Okay. But if you're loving that person, if you love them, a part of that will make them love themselves, and because they love themselves, they automatically will not align to things anymore. That's why I never tell my daughter, don't take this tattoo, don't go there, don't do that.
Right.
I don't say anything. Okay? I just, every time I feel the temptation, and just focus upon loving her in such a way that she will not feel attraction to things that are out of alignment. She will feel uncomfortable drinking. She will feel, because think about yourself. When do you feel like drinking? When blah, 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 blah. When do you feel like doing this? When blah, blah, blah. Thus, if you work at the source, then automatically you don't have to talk about the other things the person is doing. Because if it's meant to be, it will happen. And if it's in alignment with the person, it will happen. And if it's out of alignment, the person will not feel attraction towards it. Right. The person will not feel like I said, I know that when I know I'm like in bliss or happy when I don't feel like drinking. When I don't, because I'm like in my natural, like now I'm like drunk. I didn't drink anything. I didn't have any whiskey. It's just I'm drunk in love. Right. Okay. So somebody that would see me would think that I'm using, that I'm on something. I'm on the substance of love. And if I give that, she automatically will feel less attraction to this, will feel less attraction. And I don't have to say it. Because if I say I'm playing the boss, I'm controlling. Right. If I don't say anything, she will feel what's in alignment and what's not. And that's something I've learned too, because like she's 18 now, she's adult. So I avoid saying what you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. Right. I let her do whatever she thinks she needs to do. And I just infuse love so that she decides like someone who loves and respects themselves. I love that. That is fantastic. Yes. Yeah. And we need to do more of that. Thank you for that reminder. Yeah. Okay. Well, we probably should head off. Yes. You and I could talk for hours. Oh yes, and I'm loving it. I love being here with you. And like I said, any other time you want, just hit me up, send me an app, and we can always do it again. Yeah, we'll definitely do more of this. So I want to thank everyone who was here. I hope you enjoyed this wonderful conversation about relationships, and I hope that you picked up some great little tidbits from Tibisay. I know I did. We always have something to learn. And what's, even people who are conscious relationship coaches can pick something up learning from someone else, because we can learn something from every person that we know and every person we meet. And it's about having an open mind and an open heart about what's possible, because we're always learning, always growing. And this was great information for me. I hope all of you found it helpful. And until next time, and as always, get bold, be fearless, and live free. Yes.